in 72, I told you that this fine young lady was coming down the way, and I realized if I didn't get out of the way right away, I was going to get married and pregnant. Or, you know what I mean? This year. Because it was graduation, you know, they get married and then they send a boy off to war to get killed and maimed and whatever, and then she gets the Social Security. It's a game plan. Anyway, I took off with the carnival. I was getting ready to get drafted in 72, but in 72 was the last year, and they dropped the mandatory draft at that time. But I took off for the carnival instead of going to Butte to get inducted in the military. And when I got in with the carnival, I met these two guys from LA, and they were going to hitchhike on down there. And I said, well, hey, can I come with you? And they said, yeah, you're cool, let's go. So we took off hitchhiking, and I ended up in Spokane for a couple of months while the other two guys went down to LA and tried to get a place situated. And, you know, it was getting on, and I thought, gee, I got to get down there if I'm going to do this. So I took off by myself. And right away, this guy brought me from Spokane up to Seattle. And I met another guy there, which was real peculiar. Instead of having a camouflage outfit with a backpack, he had a suit, a dirty old suit, and a suitcase. That's how he was hitchhiking. Well, he took me on down past Eugene, Oregon. And anyway, I managed to make it all the way down to LA. And I was down there for about a month, and I realized this ain't working. I couldn't do anything to make any money because I'm not a bum. I didn't know how to bum the way these other guys did. They have a song of how they do their bumming, and I couldn't do that. I was trying to get a job, but my snogs were really big at that time, and I hardly knew where I was. I was trying to get a job, but I didn't even know what address I was staying at. And every time I did the application, I would write my mother's home address here in Helena, Montana, and her telephone number. Like, that's really gonna work, ain't it? I was really screwed up. Anyway, I realized I had to get the heck out of there because, I mean, you can't even get water for free in LA. You go to a gas station, they have the toilets locked up. You have to, it's really, I didn't like it. And so on about the 5th or 6th of December, I decided to hitchhike back up home to Helena. And these guys looked at me like, are you kidding? And I'm like, what? I'm from Montana. I can be in that cold weather. I wasn't thinking well. I was summer clothes, summer sleeping bag, cheap summer sleeping bag. And anyway, I hitchhiked back up here, and on the 17th of December in 72, I made it back home. And so I survived it.
What about the mescaline?
The mescaline, yeah, these, right as soon as I got out of LA, I mean, it was like the first ride. 2 cars pull over, and the guy says, oh, get in the car in the back. And I get in the car in the back, and the guy says, hey, have you ever done PCP? And I says, no. Well, I found out about PCP. That was one ride. And the next ride, the guys picked me up, and he says, have you ever done mescaline tea? I said, no. Well, he had a thermos cup with about this much tea in it that he gave me, hot tea, and he says it tastes like rancid nuts, really bad, strong, nasty. And he says, don't sip it, just glug it down. So I did. I just glugged it on down, and by the time they dropped me off, let's see, we went past a store, and I decided, I had some peanut butter in my little backpack, And I decided, well, I'll go in and get a loaf of bread and we can have peanut butter sandwiches. You think that's good? And I thought, yeah, that's cool. So I walked on over to the store, and it was funny. Now I'm on this mescaline and it's starting to kick in. As I touched the doorknob, my brain went, hey, there's a store here. I could get stuff. And I walked in, and they had 20 different kinds of bread. And I'm trying to make a choice. I said, God dang, just take one. Get out of here. So anyway, we going down the road, and when they dropped me off, see, I'm getting two stories. I had the PCP going on and the mescaline tea going on. And when I stepped out of their car, it felt to me like as though I had a balloon up above me about as tall as these trees. And I was dangling on a cord. I'm just kind of barely on the ground. I'm like lifting off. I'm like, whoa, trying to stay down on the ground. And I'm walking along, you know, and that's quite a hitchhiking trip, huh? Anyway, this other guy picked me up, and of course in California, homosexuality is a real song. As a matter of fact, it's the song. And this guy says, well, heck, why don't you come on in, I'll cook you breakfast and we'll have a shower. And I'm like, I says, no, I'm going up into cold country. I'm gonna keep my body oils intact. Okay. So he's the guy that dropped me off about 10 miles out of town. I was literally 10 miles away from everything, out in the freeway. And that night, in '72, if you get your history book out, the temperature came in and it blew down to 20 below zero. We're talking 50, 60 mile an hour winds, and it was 20 below zero for a short while. And I'm out there. I found a little ditch that's like, you know, about that deep. And I was able to get off the freeway, and I had this, it was a Cub Scout tent. It's a 3-sided tent, no door, no floor, just a piece of canvas. And I had this $10 summer sleeping bag, and I had one of those great big garbage bags. So I pulled my sleeping bag into the garbage bag and pulled the tent over the top of me and got in this little bit of a ditch, so I'm out of the wind. I mean, you could not be out there. If you look up that in history, that moment caused all the eucalyptus trees in California to die that year, a large amount of them. And anyway, when I got up in the morning, I stood on the road for about 5 minutes, and this young lady with a 4-year-old daughter picked me up and brought me all the way to Portland, Oregon. That saved my life.